Greetings, my people. It's Mr. PDT yet again on another episode of the Enlightenment series. I know, my people, most of you have been eagerly waiting to hear an update on baby testimony. And to some of you who are not familiar with this case of this little golden, precious child called baby testimony, maybe let me just bring you up to speed. This is for those that are joining us for the first time. Baby testimony is Sister Ruth Matthews' baby boy. He was only 2 years when he was abducted at Mercy City, which is Jeremiah Omoto's church. She went there to attend service just like anybody else does, to go and get miracles, to go and get healing, or to go and get an encounter with the God of Jeremiah Omoto for fame. Unfortunately, they took advantage of her. 2 anonymous women approached her, carried out one of her child. She actually has 4 children, 4 boys. Carried away one of her little one, the last born, called baby testimony. And they disappeared into thin air. Ruth Matthew is physically challenged. She can't walk on her feet. She's always using a wheelchair, which made it easier for this abduction process to be a success. Fast forward, she made a report to the police. She made a complaint to the police that this is what happened. She approached one human rights activist called Ahmad Issa, the ordinary president, for assistance. He did what he could. He brought awareness of the whole case. We actually ended up knowing about the case. This happened in 2019, 3 years down the line, which means for the past 3 good years, this baby has been missing. And this baby is still missing. There's only one thing that everyone that is gotten involved in this case has been asking. One critical thing that could have brought closure to everyone. And that one thing is, where is the CCTV footage? Why did the man of God not do anything to help this poor, vulnerable woman locate her child the very moment this happened? Based on the testimony of the mother, she says when she made this report to the church or to the man of God, she was chased out of the church premises. She was told that you want to tarnish the image of our ministry. Get out of here. And when efforts were made to just look at the CCTV footage of the area where she was sitting, the church apparently came up with a claim that those CCTV footages were not working on that particular day only. So as the case was getting hotter and hotter and hotter, the police, instead of defending and fighting for this woman, the commissioners of police in Delta, in Wari, where this case happened, instead of fighting for this woman's justice, they spinned the table, they turned the table around, and they started now accusing and prosecuting this woman who had initially reported to the very same police that her child was kidnapped at this particular church. The police started prosecuting her that you lied against the man of God. You falsely accused the man of God of having stolen your child. If you were this woman, who could you have accused of being responsible for the disappearance of your child? Was she not in her legal right to accuse Mercy City and the owner of Mercy City to be responsible or to be behind this abduction syndicate? But the shock of the entire prosecution from the police comes from this angle. They do not have a single piece of evidence to prove that she lied. I forgot to mention, these police commissioners are very good friends with Jeremiah Omoto, with the leader of this Mercy City. They've done several dinners. We have all the pictures and evidence. The commissioners are on record endorsing Jeremiah Omoto for fame, that he is a good friend. He knows how to keep friends. Omoto, in turn, he has contributed and donated huge sums of money towards different causes in the community that were being headed by these police commissioners. So now you can understand or have a clear picture why the commissioners of police would take Jeremiah Omoto's side against this vulnerable woman with no merit. Fast forward, the woman has been going to court ever since. And the reason why she's going to court is she's answering to these charges that were laid by the commissioners of police of defaming the men of God, of falsely accusing the men of God. Trumped up charges. They are coming up with different types of witnesses to try to exonerate this man of God, that this man of God has nothing to do with this abduction syndicate. But if you're just to think and brainstorm, are all these witnesses necessary? There's only one witness that we need, or they need, to clear themselves up. And that witness comes in the form of a CCTV footage. Because a CCTV footage will show us what really transpired. A CCTV footage could have made the investigation far much better and easier for the police to know who exactly to look for. But there is another reason why they might not want to release the CCTV footage. Because the two women who took the baby from this woman called Ruth Matthew is part of the church. Once these two women are exposed, then the entire syndicate becomes vulnerable. So now you understand why they will never release the CCTV footage, or why they are never going to be in a position to bring the contents of that CCTV footage, even in their defense in court. They're not producing any evidence. The police itself, the commissioners of police itself, they're not bringing any investigation report, which shows what they found out in their investigation when Ruth Matthew went to report the case. They're not bringing that investigation which shows their verdict or their findings as to why they ended up thinking or believing that Ruth Matthew falsely accused Mercy City or accused Jeremiah Omoto for fame of being behind the abduction of his little boy. So many of you have been asking, so why don't we appeal to the international community? Why don't we seek international remedy and get assistance? Because there's one fact that is constant here. We will never get justice in Nigeria. Some will say the judiciary is captured. If the police commissioners are captured, so the chances of the judiciary being captured as well, they are very high. But there are steps and processes, my people, to getting to all those other levels. When something of this nature happens, you just don't take it straight away and appeal to the international community to say, can you please help us? We have a humanitarian case of this nature. Can you please come through and assist us? We need to exhaust all the available channels to fight for Ruth Matthew's justice and to fight for baby testimony's justice. So just to bring it to your attention, we have been doing everything possible. We have been contacting all the relevant bodies to be part of this case. Like I said to you before, my people, this is not a case that will ever be a bygone. This is not a case that we can ever sweep under the carpet. So the update that you are looking for is coming. And we just want to make sure that we submit to the demands of the courts. Because Ruth has been in court in and out, and they are trying by all means to delay this process of the court, to frustrate Ruth Matthew as much as they can using the courts, so that at one point she can just wake up and say, I cannot do this anymore. Can this case just be a bygone? The reason why I say this is, this court should have ended last year when they had brought all their witnesses. And indeed, they did bring all their witnesses. Because it's a win-win. They do not have any leverage or any merit that can make them win this case. They brought all their witnesses and everyone that was supposed to be brought. And when they realize that they've exhausted their witnesses, when they realize that they actually do not have a case of defamation, as they claim, against Sister Ruth Matthew, guess what they did? They burned the courthouse and burnt all the documents that had everything to do with this case of baby testimony and Ruth Matthew. And the reason why they did that is so that it can be restarted again. This case was restarted again. I think a month ago. The previous judge who was presiding over the case, he washed his hands and said, I don't want this anything to do with this case anymore. Go take it on with someone else. Because she probably realized also, judges like this are those judges that do not want to take bribe, are those judges that do not want to participate in any form of corruption. So for the safety of their own selves and to just avoid themselves being implicated in something that they cannot deal with, she just decided to say, let me step aside. So it was awarded to another judge who is now starting to observe and go through the entire case from scratch again. It's just a frustration game because they believe they have all the money. They believe they can do and they can undo, and they have been doing that. What they do not understand or what they do not know is we'll never give up on Sister Ruth Matthew. And I want to thank all the partners. I want to give a big thumbs up to all my secret supporters out there that have been standing for Sister Ruth Matthew. All those that have done all that they can to make sure that Ruth Matthew shows up to court every month, because she's showing up in court every month. And where she stays and where the court is, it's a flight to, it's a flight back. When she lands there, the transport costs are just something else. And there are people that have been standing with her. There are people that have been supporting in one or two ways. And I would just want to appreciate you, my people. And the assurance I want to give you is victory is certain. They think they are frustrating this poor woman. They think they are going to have it their way. But what they do not know is this is God's plan. It's not just God's plan, but this is actually giving more weight to our case of baby testimony. Because like I told you earlier, before you appeal to any international body, you have to make sure that you exhaust all the available channels. So this is a win on our side, because what we are doing is we are exhausting and we are proving to them that the judiciary and the law enforcement is captured. And soon we reach that mark when we can prove beyond no reasonable doubt that we are never going to get justice in Nigeria because of these events that keep unfolding. Then they can chip in. Because we cannot say the state is captured, the judiciary is captured, the law enforcement is captured just by mere saying it. We have to prove it. We have to prove it to them beyond no reasonable doubt that we have tried this, and this. And they have done this, and this to sabotage justice for this poor woman, or to sabotage justice for baby testimony. And then now we will be having a very strong case for them to intervene. And you must remember, the case that is in court is not yet even about baby testimony. Jeremiah has not yet even been brought to book or to court or to answer as to what happened on the 15th of April 2019 at his establishment. He has not yet been brought to answer. But he will very, very soon. And the case that is in court is for defamation. It's Sister Ruth Matthew now who is the one who is being prosecuted by the Commissioner of Police together with Mercy City. The victim is now who's taking the blows for the past, I think, 1 year or 12 months. And once they deal and finish with all this jiggly that they are doing with this case, hoping that they'll walk out of it, then we are yet to still bring now to court the one for baby testimony, because the one for baby testimony has not yet been heard. So we want to get to a point whereby when we make a case to the international bodies, we'll give them all the exhibit that we've tried everything. We have cried out to everyone. Brother Ijele did a campaign. We have all those records, and it's very important to keep all those records to the Ministry of Justice. He did a campaign there, a very peaceful campaign. He left a petition at the offices of the Ministry of Justice. And all that is recorded. Those videos are there. To those that have been following me for a long time, you have proof of what I'm saying. And this was not the only one that he did. And we have another brother, Godwin, and other people. They did another match-up campaign again in the streets of Nigeria with placards all over, demanding, raising awareness, calling out for responsible authorities in Nigeria to chip in on this case of baby testimony. So we've cried out to every possible department that we possibly could, or that we possibly have to. And we're doing all this legally, lawfully. Because they've paid a deaf ear on our cry, or on this case of baby testimony, then we will be left with no option but to appeal. Of course, we have already appealed. We're just waiting for them now to respond based on the evidence that we would have provided to them of the efforts that we have made to solve this case in Nigeria, but without success. My people, we will find baby testimony. And you all know that he was supposed to be released in April, around the 27th of April. The man himself had made it upon himself, had declared that the boy will be found. He made it clear to everyone that in 4 days this boy was supposed to be found. But because of the fear of the unknown, he made a U-turn on his promise to release the boy. Or to those of you who did not hear what he said a year ago on the 14th of April, sorry, not on the 14th, 27th of April, this is what he said.
Now, if this baby comes out, what will you do? What will you do?
I will rededicate myself to God.
You rededicate?
I will rededicate myself.
What about you? If this baby, now the enemies, the Lord said, he said the baby, he has set confusion among the people that who caused this calamity. But I'm telling you,
a feast of thanksgiving.
hey, listen, take this my word. Even 1 second to this mood to round up, this baby that missing, you hear a good news.
Amen.
Even 1 second to this mood, what I have seen in the realm of the spirit, I'm seeing. How can you accuse the person like this? You, that the person who are following me, are you ready to dance and celebrate with me? Zoom people, if the baby come out or from anywhere, are you ready to celebrate with me?
He had made up his mind that he's going to release this boy. But the fear of the unknown, of what would people say, what is going to happen, shook him a bit. There are so many issues that I've heard concerning what happened this time. Some people, the bosses, his bosses, told him, listen, let's just deal with this boy. It's better there be no trace of this boy than for you to release him. Let's just make sure that he goes, he vanishes, if you know what I mean. But there were objections again from Omoto's side to say, no, we can't do it now. Let's wait. Let's just keep him under strict protection and make sure that he does not go anywhere. He used to go to school. He doesn't go to school anymore. They can't risk it. He used to be a free man. He's not a free man anymore. They can't risk it because people know him now. People have been seeing him on this platform, on different other platforms. Right now, he's being monitored very closely. And his movements have been limited. The reason why they are still holding on to him, or before they take him out, or before they do what they were advised by the bosses, they just have to also take chances to see how far this case can go. How far can they take the punches? Or how long will it take for them to break? Will this case just die a natural death? Or there will be a time when it's going to be very hot again and we will need to just drop this child somewhere and claim that we had nothing to do with it. So they are gambling right now as we talk, or at least withholding to the boy. But like I said in the beginning, we will find baby testimony. This is a case that will not be a bygone, or that cannot be a bygone. We will find that boy, and he will reunite with his biological mother and brothers. With that being said, I'll check you out on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. So do not ever feel like we have abandoned this case. I would rather die than abandon this case. I'm out.